Hey, everybody. What's up? It's the Energy is Love podcast, the podcast for the universe. First and foremost, thank you for listening. Always say that. Always appreciate it. We cannot thank you guys enough for all the love and support. Remember, energyislovepodcast.com. Find all the new episodes. Keep up to date. Follow us on Facebook. All those places, all that stuff. You know it because you listen to the podcast. You're about to listen to episode 49 of the podcast. And to celebrate for episode 50, we're going to do something a little bit different. That's going to be coming out soon, hopefully this week sometime. On episode 50, we're going to switch up roles. And my oldest daughter, Gwendolyn, is actually going to take over the show and be interviewing me. So I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a fun episode, and I'm excited to share that with everybody once we get it up and downloaded for everybody. I just wrapped up recording at the Law of Attraction Summit this past weekend. We got to talk to a lot of people that were there participating, not just as presenters, but also volunteers that were there helping, people that were there as guests. We have a whole slew of good interviews that I'm going to be piecing together for an episode, and that will be coming out as well in the next few weeks. So pay attention, look for it when it comes out, download and listen and enjoy, and always share the show. Remember, tell somebody about the podcast for the universe so that everybody gets to benefit. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Crystal Water Float Spa. Crystal Water is the biggest support and sponsor for the podcast since its inception. You can find out more at crystalwaterfloat.com. It's always a good idea as well to go follow them on Facebook. At Crystal Water, you get to benefit and enjoy and relax and float. We highlight floating on the podcast, so you've heard about it. If you haven't floated, come out and float at Crystal Water Float Spa. And you get to lay back and float and relax and disappear into the cosmos of your inner mind? ? You get to float in dream pods at Crystal Water Float Spa. Crystal Water is also the nation's only distributor of the Dream Pod. So if you're looking to open up your own float center, you want to start running your business, sharing floating with your community, check out Dream Pods. You can go to dream-pod.com and learn more. They have the Dream Pod Stealth, which is the only float tank on the market that is all black. It's designed that way to provide an even deeper sensory deprivation experience. So contact Crystal Water Float Spa today. Learn how you can get your Dream Pod shipped out to you directly. You can go to dream-pod.com to find out more. And then get your float on, as they say at Crystal Water Float Spa. On today's episode, the episode you're about to listen to, I was recently in Michigan and I got the opportunity to sit down with the owner of the Sacred Sage, Diane Rothman. Diane opened up the Sacred Sage, I think she said about 7 years ago. It's a beautiful little metaphysical shop in Farmington, Michigan. When I travel, I always try to reach out to people in the area where I'm going to be, and that's what I did with Diane. Didn't know much about her going into the interview, but man, did she bring it. She's not only does she own the Sacred Sage, she's also a certified healing touch practitioner and instructor. She channels, so we talked in depth about her experiencing in channeling. She also teaches people how to channel and host classes and things like that. She's also the founder of the Church of the Human Spirit. So she was absolutely a perfect guest for the podcast and had tons of wisdom and insight to share, and I loved getting to meet her. It was such a wonderful opportunity, and it was a lot of fun. Her shop alone was worth the trip. After we got done recording, I walked through and checked everything out and spent quite some time just perusing everything that she had at the shop. So if you guys are in the area, I know we've got listeners in Michigan, go check her out. She's in Farmington. You can find out more at thesacredsage.com. Now you get to sit back and relax. Drink some coffee perhaps, or some tea, or some ayahuasca if you're somewhere where you can access that wonderful stuff, and enjoy this episode of the podcast for the universe with my wonderful guest, Diane Rothman. Here we go.
You're listening to the Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is love.
The Energy is the Love podcast.
The Energy is Love podcast.
Energy is love.
The Energy is Love podcast.
The podcast for the universe.
The Energy is Love podcast.
Good morning, Diane.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
So we're here in, is this considered Farmington Hills or is this Farmington?
Farmington.
Okay. So we're here in Farmington, Michigan at the Sacred Sage.
Yes.
So you're the owner of the shop. Tell me a little bit about the shop first and
Yes.
foremost.
Well, it's a metaphysical spiritual store, and we sell, crystals, stones, essential oils, books, statuary, just about anything for your spiritual practice.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of everything in here.
Yeah, we do. Mm-hmm.
How long have you guys been open?
Almost 7 years.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Have you always been at this location?
No, I started out in a real small location in the back of this building,
Mm-hmm.
and outgrew that, and then I moved here, and I've been here in this particular space for 5 years.
What originally inspired you to open up this type of store, this type of shop?
Well, it's a long story, really.
Well, we got time.
Okay. Well, I'm retired from a 28-year career in advertising, and I had my own company the last 10 years of that. And I just had gotten tired of that rat race, and also I was going through a lot of personal stress in my life. There was a lot of personal issues going on in my life. And in 2009, when the economy crashed, a lot of my clients went out of business overnight. So I decided, do I want to rebuild this or do something different? So I did. I decided to let the business go. I was tired of it. It really wasn't serving me at all. And I had recently had a healing touch treatment, which is, energy work. And during that treatment, I had a profound experience that set me on a path. So I knew that I had to immerse myself in this kind of stuff to, find peace and happiness despite what was going on in my life.
Prior to that, had you ever had any sort of energy work done or anything like that? Any exposure to it?
I had not. I had not had any energy work. When I was a child, I was very spiritual up until about the time I went to college.
Yeah.
And, like most people, it gets cut off at that point and you go off and do your human stuff because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And so it just reopened that door for me. And so I started having energy treatments once a week for, long time. And I thought, if I can feel good for an hour, one time a week, I'm going to do it. And so that really set me on the path. And it was kind of crazy because, I'd been this corporate person and everybody knew me as that person. And so when I decided to do this, I was really pretty scared about how people would feel about my choices, and even my husband. I didn't even tell him I was opening the store until I pretty much signed the lease. And but he ended up being really good about it. Yeah. And I think people are. When you're really doing something that's from your heart, it's your heart's desire, the people around you will fall into place with you. I know a lot of people are afraid of that, afraid of letting people know what their real beliefs are and things that they're doing. And I found that if it's heart-centered, they'll come along with you. They will. That's
one of the reasons why we wanted to do the podcast, was to not just bring awareness to all these sorts of different things, energy work and spirituality and all these metaphysical things, but give people the opportunity to realize that, maybe you're thinking about it, maybe you have some sort of an experience, but you don't know who to talk to about it or something like that, because so many times I think people have gifts or abilities, whatever we want to label them or call them, but they don't feel like they can openly discuss or come out in a sense. And so hopefully people get a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of hope from listening to the podcast.
Yeah, I really do think that if you have a heart's desire and you can't fulfill it, that's going to be, really sad for you. And if the people around you can't allow you to be that, then you have to really think about who you're around.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage, because it could be a husband, it could be a parent, it could be, people of authority over you. And I experienced some of those things. I had to quit jobs. I had to resign clients. And my partners are like, "What are you talking about? That's our biggest revenue stream." I said, "No, I can't work with these people. They're not, good people." And it's scary. You think, well, how are we going to make up that revenue? But I have to tell you, every single time it works out, because you're coming from the heart. from your heart's desire.
Yeah, it's that beautiful thing of the universe, how when you align with your heart and with what you want to be doing. And
that's right. But it does take courage. It takes a lot of courage. It's not for the meek or the weak.
How's the spiritual community here in Farmington? Like, do you guys have a pretty good following in a sense? And do you know what I mean? You stay pretty busy with the shop and whatnot?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not, swamped every day, but I didn't want that anyway. I chose Farmington because it's kind of a sleepy town, and stores aren't open after 6 o'clock. And, I want to have a quality of life. I want to have the store. I want to go home, be with my family and have a balance. So I really chose Farmington because of that. But we do have a following, and new people are coming in all the time, and they're really happy that we're here. They're like, "Don't go away! Don't ever go away!" Because sometimes they go, "Well, maybe I'm moving on to something else," But they're like, "No." So it really is needed.
Yeah,
it's needed here, and a lot of people come in and say, "Oh my gosh, I don't have anyone to talk to about this stuff," and it's just such a relief to be able to come in and talk about it. Or they come in with problems and we're able to kind of help them sort through it. And, not that we're therapists or anything, but.
Well, I mean, it's the energy work. It's the,
Yeah.
A lot of times, 9 times out of 10, I think that people, and I'm sure you realize this and know this, and, but it's really when you sit with somebody or if you're trying to help somebody, it's just holding space for them. It's just being in that environment, in that experience, so that they have the opportunity to kind of process and move through some things, and you just kind of sit back and watch and poke and nudge and guide a little bit.
Yeah, we have a policy. We don't do anything for anyone that they can do for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So we're about self-empowerment. And so everything that we do is to support their self-empowerment.
Do you guys have, I can tell, I'm excited for when we get done recording because I'm going to spend a little bit of time walking through your shop. But you've got readers here and you've got people that come in on a regular basis.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about those if you could.
Well, we have a palm reader. She also does numerology. We have various oracle card readers. We don't have a tarot card reader currently, but I used to have one. And they're in various days of the week, and people come in and get their readings. I mean, readings are really popular.
Yeah.
They're really popular. So we try to offer, everything that they might need, a reading, or maybe it's incense or candles or, stuff to put a spell kit together, whatever it is. We try to have everything. We also, I also started a church. It's called the Church of the Human Spirit, and it meets here. And it's non-denominational. It's all channeled information, the philosophies of the church. And it's about supporting people on whatever path they're on. So people can, we have some Catholics that come. We have some Wicca people that come. We have anybody can come. And we're not, we don't preach or say you have to believe this. We just present, the services are really like we present a topic and give the church's point of view, then open it up for discussion. So it gives people an opportunity to talk and share their views, share things that happened to them and how they handled it. And so it just sort of helps people to see a variety of standpoints.
And it's called, again, what is it? The Church of the
Church of the Human Spirit.
Church of the Human
So,
Spirit.
yeah, it's based on, a lot of people think, oh, I have to become spiritual. I have to become perfect. I have to become, and we already are that.
Yeah.
We already are. So you're chasing,
seeking that enlightenment that
You're
never
already
really
there.
comes. Yeah.
You're already there. So it's about being human. So it's not about the Holy Spirit. It's about the human spirit. How do we heal the human spirit? How do we bring the human spirit into alignment with our perfection? And that's really our purpose here on the planet, is to bring our humanity into alignment with our spiritual perfection.
You said that kind of all the basis behind the church and everything like that is channeled.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
Well, part of my transformation from corporate to this, or my other world to this world, is I was looking for answers, and I ran across Abraham Hicks. And first I thought, oh, this is crazy. This is a bit beyond, what I want to believe or whatever. So I just kept, it kept coming in front of me, but I just kept pushing it away. And then finally I said, okay, let's see what this is about. So I went on their website, and they had some audio on there of the 12 principles of, or the basic principles of Abraham. So I listened to it, and I was listening to it, and I thought, I don't really care where this comes from, but it's really resonating with me. And I didn't care anymore. That I thought, well, is she really doing this? It just all went out the window. So I started reading and everything that they had, and then I thought, and I went to see them too.
Did you?
Yeah, I went to Chicago and I saw them, and I thought, I want to ask my questions. I didn't get any questions answered. And I thought, I want to ask my own questions, and I have a lot of questions. So why can't I have a direct line to something that could give me information? So I started seeking out teachers, and finally I found out there's one here in Ann Arbor, really close by. So I went to see her, and I ended up taking classes from her. And so I've been channeling for about 5 years now. I'm
excited because this is a topic that we actually haven't discussed very much on the podcast before. We've had a ton of guests and whatnot, and for whatever reason, channeling hasn't really come up.
Oh, okay.
And so it has a little bit, like we've talked a little bit about like Cryon. I'm sure you've heard of Cryon, and obviously Abraham and everything like that.
Right.
But it's an interesting concept. And I think, like you said, a lot of times when people initially hear about it or come across it, they're incredibly skeptical. I know I was at the beginning of kind of my own spiritual journey and path, and that stuff started popping up, or I'd hear other people talk about it, and then I would look into it a little bit, and I'm like, oh, this is all just complete BS.
Yeah, I know. I tried to be open in the beginning, but it was just a little bit, out of my realm of believability.
Yeah. And then as I kind of got into it more and read into it more and looked into it more and just kind of sat with it more and more and more, I think for me personally, I came to the realization that I think essentially whenever you're connected to some higher power or some higher source, for me, it's the universe, whether people want to refer to it as God or whatever the case may be. I think that you are tapped into that direct line. And when you receive inspiration or guidance or direction for your life, that's essentially what you're doing. You're just channeling that energy from whatever source it comes from. So tell me about your experience in it. You said you went and met with a woman and took classes and training and things like that.
Yeah. I thought at first, I don't think I'll never be able to do that. I thought that's really phenomenal. I don't think I'll ever be able to do that. And then through my research, I found out, well, I think maybe I can, with the right training, or maybe I just need to be shown how. I mean, some people are just natural. But so I found this woman, and I went to her class. There was 2 classes, like a beginner and then an advanced. And we just basically went through some, exercises, and her guide was Jacob, and he ran the class essentially. And, just over those 2 classes, you learn to channel. It's not that hard. Anybody can do it. You just have to be able to focus, But I also think you need to clear out, I say clean out your closet, So I'm teaching channeling now. So I teach, the first class is called Spiritual Development, and that's cleaning out your closet. And it involves healing stuff that's happened to you. It involves eradicating fear, heightening your senses, and a bunch of other stuff. But basically, you have this straw that's your communication channel, and it's all clogged up with, your life.
Yeah.
So in the class, which my guide helped me to put together, it just basically, it gives you tools. You have a meditation to heal. If you have bad memories that come up, a lot of times people can't meditate because something comes up and they don't want to deal with it. Or they even have like a physical tic that brings them out. I had a student who, when she got to a certain point in meditation, she'd start sniffing. And that was her body's way of bringing her out of the meditation because of the fear of facing whatever was there, So you learn when those things come up, there's a tool that you can use to allow that to come up and heal it. That's gentle, and it's not going to be frightening. And so, all your experiences pile up like a stack of books. And then to heal them, you have to go back down the same, chronological order down. You can't go from here to here. You can't skip. That's called spiritual bypass.
Yeah. You got to read all the chapters,
Yes.
all the books.
And go back down. And sometimes one will take a ton of them with them, so you do kind of go down. But, clearing all that out and eradicating fear. Fear is our biggest stumbling block here on the planet, especially what we've learned from religion. And just, it's a fear-based society. And I personally do not believe in any evil. I don't believe there's any negative energy. It's all man-made. There are different levels of vibration and energy, and some are lower than others, and they don't feel so good, but they're not evil, and they're not out to get you.
Oh my goodness. I'm so that's one thing that comes up a lot. And for me, that's why it's the Energy is Love podcast, because at the end of the day, I got to the point in my own journey, my own experience, that at the core of what I believe now is that energy simply is just love, and that it is, I don't think it's positive or negative, good or evil. It just is. It just exists. And so I'm the same way, where I don't necessarily, when I say I don't necessarily, I don't believe in bad or negative energy or evil things that happen. I think that's what we label it. I think that's how we perceive it. Like you said, it's all man-made in a sense. And so for me, that's kind of been the driving force behind my own spiritual practice and my belief system was, there's nothing bad. It just is. And it's in regards to how I respond and how I react. And, I really believe that at the core of it, it is just love. It's just that really pure, high vibrational energy that comes from the source.
Yeah. And, every level has a purpose. So you can't want to eradicate it, and we've all been there. We've all been down there in the lower vibrations, and we're working our way up. But it's nothing to be afraid of. It doesn't feel good when you're there, and I equate it to, going into a lake with bloodsuckers. They're going to get on you, but they're not out to get you. That's just what they do down there. They serve a purpose down there, and they're going to get on you. But that doesn't mean you have to stay there. You can take them off and move up. You can get out of the lake. So it's really, if you can eradicate that fear that somebody's out to get you, or something's out to get you, or something's attached to you, or, whatever it is, your vibration raises up and you're not going to be affected by that anymore. So eradicating fear is just a big deal. And with channeling, people are afraid, am I going to get possessed? Am I going to...
Yeah, they're going to connect with some evil side.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, will that open up to evil things? Things like that. But what I've learned through channeling is that you are always in control. Nothing can come into your space or, come into your body or whatever without your permission. However, fear is a default for allowing. If you say, oh, I'm afraid of you, you can do this to me, then it can, but if you are in a state of, I'm powerful and nothing can affect me unless I let it, unless that just strengthens your resolve, and puts you on a more positive path. So in channeling, you decide who you want to channel. Like a lot of people say, oh, I'll just take whoever comes in. No, you don't do that. You're in charge.
Yeah.
It's about taking charge of your, your experience. And many of those guides, let me just say this. Nothing in the universe knows what's right for you but you. That's it. So there is no, thing out there that knows what you are supposed to do or need to do. You're the only one that knows that. So when you learn to channel, you one of the biggest things you need to do is to define who do you want to communicate with. And then you set that intention. Now, in my classes and the way I was taught is you work with only one guide to begin with, because each guide has a different vibrational signature. Mm-hmm. And so you want to get used to that one signature. If you have all these guides coming at you, you're going to get confused, like who's who, what, what's going on? So you want to ask to work with your highest level guide. And it's not an angel. It's not a deceased person. It's a high level guide who has not been in a physical body. And you have one that's assigned to you. And the reason why you want that is because the information they're going to give you is unadulterated by human experience. Even ascended masters have had a human experience, and they've mastered it. But if you're working with your highest level guide, they're going to give you objective information. And that information, you have the choice of whether to receive it or dismiss it. It's up to you, And but you know when it's right for you. And that's when you need to heighten your senses to be so that you can be aware of subtle energies, because it can be subtle. Some guides can be really,
Yeah, they can come in with that for us.
Yeah, I had, I was working with, my guide's name is Pinky, and there's a long story behind her name, but she really doesn't have a name, but that's what we decided on for a certain reason. But there was a guide that kept coming to me. I'm like, no, I don't want to work with you. I'm just with Pinky. That's it. And then one night she came with him. And she goes, well, maybe you should just try it. I'm like, well, okay, if you think I should, I'll try it. And when he came in, I felt like I put my finger in an electrical socket. I'm like, get out of here. No, that's it. Don't bring me anybody else, And I think it was a guide that was just learning to work with humans. So I don't know what happened, but basically you have to be able to raise your vibration up. And they come down because they're really high vibration. They can't just come in. You got to prepare yourself. So you raise up your vibration as much as you can, and they come down, and there's like a tipping point where you connect. And a lot of times that's during sleep, because when you're sleeping, your vibration goes up automatically. So a lot of times they'll take that opportunity to break into your dreams or whatever and talk to you. But once you start doing this healing, clearing out your closet, your vibration's going to go up. It's going to be much easier to connect with them. And so you work with one guide, you get used to that guide, and you know their signature. And if you want to expand from there, you can. I haven't wanted to at all, but I've been using this channeling ability for other things. Well,
first I want to ask you,
okay,
do you remember the first time that you connected with Pinky, or the first time that you had that?
Well, the first time that I connected with her, I was 17. But I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. She took the opportunity to come in at a time when I was like suicidal.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave me some information. And at the time, I was like, teenage angst, I was writing in my diaries, why did he dump me? Why, this
I've got 3 teenage girls, so I'm completely aware of that. Yeah.
But it was a really, really horrible time in my life too. And so she broke through, and I did some automatic writing. And she defined what hope was to me. And that I used that information for years. I mean, it got me through a lot of stuff, but I didn't really question where it came from or anything. And that's the way the guides' messages are. You don't care where they come from. You don't question it. Sometimes you just don't care. You just love this information so much, and it's helping you so much, you don't really care. So that was the first time. That was sort of like an unconscious, experience. So then But
you had that re-remembrance, right?
Yeah, I asked her later. I said, was that you? And she said, yeah. And there was a couple other instances where she came in and helped me too. But in the class, you practice having the guide come in your body and go out. And Pinky had never been in a physical body either. This was her first time. So it was really pretty comical. It was very comical. And she's kind of childlike. Like, she opened my eyes to the world about how to appreciate the simple things,
Mm-hmm.
So the first time she came in, I just cracked up. I was just laughing. It was embarrassing because everybody else is like, in these serious meditations, connecting with their guides. And I'm just cracking up, But with some practice, you practice going in and out, and you practice going in, asking questions, right? It's a process,
Mm-hmm.
And then she, then I would do it outside of the class. And one day I was driving to work, and I was eating grapes, and she said, I'd like to come in and, experience that. I said, okay, that's cool. And it was a beautiful day. It was like a fall day, like a blue sky, and the trees were all brilliant and everything. And she was just like, oh my God, the sky is so beautiful. The trees are so beautiful. I've, never seen through human eyes. And I was eating the grapes, and then she's like, oh my God, these are little miracles. They're like crunchy. They're sweet. They're juicy. She was just like, in awe over grapes. And you know how many times you just pop in grapes and go, oh, Those are good.
Mhm.
You eat your food without tasting. You look around without seeing, and another time it had rained and I was on my deck in my bare feet. And she's like, oh my God, what is that? I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, under your feet. And the wood had swollen and she could feel the grain in the wood. I never would have paid attention to that, So she's really like reminding me how fantastic this place is.
Yeah.
It's just a fantastic, beautiful, brilliant place, the earth.
So many of those little things that we just completely are oblivious to the majority of the time.
And part of her teaching was to observe beauty every single day. And the planet was created with that in mind, because the divine creator knew it would be difficult. So they tried to incorporate as many things as they could and as much variety as they could to make it beautiful and pleasing to us. So that if we're having a bad day, you can look out and look at that beautiful blue sky and the brilliant trees. And, if you don't like maple trees, you can look at oak trees. If you don't like a clear blue sky, probably in a few minutes there's going to be some clouds. And, all the foods we have, it's there for us to use, and people don't understand that. They just take it for granted, and so when you're feeling down, just look for beauty, because it's always there.
Yeah.
No matter where you are, you can find it, and you'll feel better. You do. You feel much better.
Oh, I want to ask you this. So this is my belief, okay?
Okay.
When it comes to whether it's somebody that we're channeling or a guide or an angel or whatever the case may be, I believe that it's because we're all connected through that same flow of energy, the whole thing, right? That it's really just another extension of myself. It's just another form of me somewhere else in some other place, in some other random dimension or whatever the case may be out there in the galaxy. So a lot of times if I'm connected with one of my guides, or what I would label as a guide, there's times when I'm just remembering, or I'm just reminding myself that it's really just some other form of my energy, maybe in a higher vibration, that is helping me in this space and in this vibration that I'm at. What do you think in regards to kind of your connection? Do you think it's when I say completely separate, I mean there's an underlying thing where we are all connected, but for me it goes a little bit deeper to where my energy is so expansive that it's just some other form of my energy somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Well, we're all individuals, but we're all connected, and we are all a part. Well, that's what the divine creator is, all conscious beings flowing in cooperation with each other. So in a sense, all of the other conscious beings in the universe are a part of you, because we're all connected, but I do feel that there are individuals too. It's kind of a hard concept for people to grasp, but I think it boils down to information. There's a universal pool of information. It's all the information in the universe is out there. And that information comes from experience, from, here and wherever else in the universe, and everything that every being has ever thought or learned or experienced is there in the pool of energy. So I think that the common connection is the information. So maybe one guide brings you, because when we're in the non-physical, we know everything. But when we decide to come here, it's a whole different experience that we want to have. So we kind of are cut off from that information so that we can experience this. And so some guides are able to connect you with the information that you need at that particular time. That's kind of how I see it. I don't know if that made sense, but
it's so hard, it's so challenging, because there's so many aspects to, and I love getting lost in the thought process and the ideas, and I just sit and let my mind go with all of these different things, because it's so fascinating to me. Like you described Pinky coming in and feeling or tasting a grape, or feeling the the rain on the deck and things like that. I think that is one of the reasons why we have this experience on this planet is our five senses and all the different aspects and all the different things. Because when we are in some other form of existence or some other form of energy, we may not have these exact same senses. We have more or different senses, but not these specific five senses that we mainly typically deal with here.
Yeah, we don't. We just exist as energy. And, the five senses are really important in this realm because they tell us what we like and what we don't like. And so, we're always moving toward what we like. So, ignoring your senses takes you off your path. So when people come in and they say, oh, what stone should I have? I said, I don't know. Only you know that. Just go over there and look at them. Which one is pretty? Which one feels good in your hand? And pick that one, And because that connects to our inner guidance system. Our mind does not. Our mind is separate. Our mind is only for certain physical things to function on the planet. But our inner guidance is driven by our senses. And your inner guidance knows everything about you, and it leads you toward what you want. So, people will come in and they'll pick that stone, based on their senses, and then they'll read it. And they'll go, oh, no, that's not what I need. I'm like, yes, it is what you need because your mind is getting involved,
Yeah.
And then what happens is they'll find a stone, then they'll read it and go, no. And then they'll go to another one and they'll read it, no. And they come to the counter. I'm so confused. Yeah, because your mind got involved.
Mm-hmm.
It's that gut instinct. They tell you, the first answer on a test, your first instinct, that's it. That's your inner guidance. Leading you toward what you want. So it's important to become more aware. Like if you're sitting here in this tablecloth, what does it feel like? Most people don't pay attention. You're just like, oh, okay, put your hands here. You don't feel anything. But if you say feel it, all these dimensions open up, about what fabric is. So
yeah,
it's important to heighten your senses. And that comes into play with energy work. Because when you're working on I'm a certified healing touch practitioner and instructor, and you have to feel the subtle biofeel. It's very subtle. You can't feel it if you're like going in like a bull in a china shop. You gotta like go slow and put your focus on your palms. What are my palms feeling?
Mm-hmm.
It's not out here. It's right here. So that's a big part of my spiritual development class. Yeah.
So I'm so fascinated. I'm so excited. This is the beautiful thing when I randomly go places and then find people, and because you're just the absolute perfect guest for the podcast. You have so many wonderful things.
Cool.
My mind is just racing with all the stuff I want to ask you.
Bring it on.
Outside of channeling for you specifically and kind of getting guidance and things like that, and then the church, do you use it in any other form or fashion in a sense? Do you have any other aspects of it that you've kind of like, do you offer readings for people or is it more or less, I don't know, I guess you probably.
Well, I don't do a lot of readings. I don't do psychic readings because most people that want those want predictions and things like that. And I just don't do it. If they're interested in, like I don't tell people what's going to happen. I try to help them create what they want to happen. And I think, and I don't mean this negatively, but a lot of people who get psychic readings want to be told what to do, and they don't want to do it themselves. Mm-hmm. So I'm very much, in the vein of I'm going to tell you or help you create what it is you want to happen in your life, because the future is not carved in stone. You can change it, and psychics are really only picking up one possibility that could happen given this moment. In 5 minutes, it could be a completely different thing, So I do channel for people, and I do that. And I tell them this is what it is, Pinky's going to tell you how you can create what you want. And you may have to face some things you don't want to face about yourself, but that's your choice. You don't have to do it, She just gives the information.
Yeah. All the shadow. all the dark side of our psyche and our emotions and everything that people run and hide from.
Well, I just went through, I'm really into flower essences too. And I work with this company. It's called La Vie de la Rose Flower Essences, and they're based in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And they're developed solely for spiritual development. So I use them in my class too. We use them. And I went to a workshop and
Are they like, is it like an essential oil or what is it? I'm not familiar with it.
Have you heard of Bach flower essences?
No.
Okay, well, flower essences are different from essential oils. They're made from flowers. And so you have a rose, at the peak of its bloom, and you take all the petals off and put it in water and put it in sunlight. And the essence of of the flower goes into the water, and you create a mother tincture. And then that has to sit for a certain amount of time, and then you can take portions of it. It's like a mother tincture. You can make other portions of it. So, and they have, just like stones have a certain energy that can help you, the flower essences have energies. And, the way I think stones work is that, we have an energy field, and the stones have energy, and they're all different because they were created under different circumstances in the earth. So they have a certain energy, and we have all the energies of the stones in our energy. But through daily living, one or more of those energies gets depleted or out of whack. So by holding the stone or having it with you, it brings it back into balance. And that's kind of what the flower essences do too. It's just like picking a stone,
So do you use it like in a spray? Or...
No, you take them orally.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, you put them under your tongue and you take them orally.
That's way cool.
Yeah, and I've used them a lot. And when you're doing some really serious healing work, and a lot of it can be frightening and uncomfortable, using flower essences softens those emotions so that you can process it with greater ease and less fear and pain.
And what's the name of the company you said again in Grand Rapids?
La Vie de la Rose. Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
That sounds way interesting.
It's amazing. It's amazing stuff, and it's all in Michigan.
Yeah.
I like that too.
Yeah.
But
go
I was going to talk about, I went to the flower essence workshop, and I'm always working on stuff. And so lately I don't feel my confidence level's been in alignment with my talents. And we all have self-doubts, right?
Yeah.
So that was my goal, to, increase the confidence level. And what I found out is that I thought, what would it be like if I was just 100% confident? I just was super confident. And I felt kind of sad because I had been, this, lack of confidence was almost like a sentient part of me, like a separate sentient being, like that has traveled with me this far. And it sort of has gotten me to where I am because it just keeps going. You can do better. You can do better. You can do better. And the thought of it going away was kind of sad. So we hang on to our foibles, or whatever you want to say. We hang on to them. We get used to them and we hang on to them. But what I learned is that they're so positive. They're not really, this lack of self-confidence pushed me toward greater knowledge. And I don't want to get rid of it. I feel like we become integrated, like healing isn't necessarily making something go away. It's about integrating it as a positive and calling on it when you need it. There's a big difference between healing and curing. Healing is taking something, that you feel is a negative, and how it's affected you positively, and coming into a place of acceptance about that. So you can have an illness but be healed.
Yeah, I totally agree.
You can find, wholeness even in death. So and that takes away a lot of fear. I can have this and be okay with it and use it mindfully versus being reactionary to it.
Yeah.
So once you
I like the way you look at it, where that's going to continually kind of perpetually move me forward into that space of wanting to learn more and seek out new things and do what I mean, use it as a catalyst as opposed to something that drags you down and keeps you stuck.
Yeah, because it led me, in, like in business, to I never felt confident. So, well, if I learn this, then I'll be confident. If I do this, then I'll be confident. If I do that, so then when I moved into this realm, I started doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm just doing the same damn thing I was doing before. But now I understand. Now I'm okay with it. You can be here with me. We're pals. We can work together now mindfully versus, reactionary or whatever we were doing before. And then I don't have any more pain with it. So it's gone.
And you said, have you started to not just work with flower essence, but have you started to create some of your own and start to do some things? Or is it more or less just coming to an understanding of all the different ways you can work with them?
No, I haven't created any products or anything like that. I just haven't had the desire to do that. I've been documenting all the information that I get from Pinky. I'm putting that into a book. So that's really my offering.
That was one thing I was going to ask you, if you're going to use all of that information. Because I think so many times too, not just because you gain so much from it and the stuff that in the insight and the information and the guidance, but 9 times out of 10, I mean, that's going to be super beneficial for everybody in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. I just, I'm going to document it and I'll put it into a book. I'm really doing that for myself. And if other people find that it's helpful, fine. If not, that's okay too. It's perfectly, it's just out there. And it's really a lot of it is what caused me to create the church. So a lot of the information is, in the doctrine of the church.
You've got the phone ringing for the business.
Yeah, it's starting.
I have another question for you, because one of the things that you mentioned was that you were really spiritual when you were younger.
Yeah.
That you had some connection. But tell me some of the ways that you were. Like, what are some of the things that you remember from that time period where...
Well, I don't think I was aware that I was spiritual. Well, I was outside all the time. I had a girlfriend. We were like 2 peas in a pod. We were always outside in nature. And my mom was pretty, nature bound too. So we'd take the dogs out and just, go. And I just felt a real connection to the earth. And just sort of... I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just the innocence of childhood. You just don't really think about what you're doing or why you're doing. You're just doing what you like. You're just, going from field to field or, whatever you do, you're just doing it, When I got to be about 10 or 11, I started getting interested in metaphysical stuff and reading books, about tarot and tea. Well, my grandmother taught me to read tea leaves.
Your grandmother did?
Yeah, she did. And she was very superstitious. She was an Irish Catholic, but she was very superstitious. So I thought, oh, there's some power out there. There's some kind of power. What is it? So I started reading and read a bunch of stuff. And then, of course, my girlfriend and I, we get together and try to make spells. And some other friends would come, can you do a spell for me? Because, so-and-so, my boyfriend's horrible, So we would play around with that stuff. And then I was reading, my mom bought me tarot cards when I was 12. So I started reading tarot cards. But I didn't have, I was a little fearful because of the Catholic upbringing. My grandmother would say, the church doesn't really want you to do this. But, I'm going to show you anyway.
Yeah.
But there was that evil, that devil knowledge that I'd been given that scared me. So at some point, I just packed it all away. And, that's when I went on when I kind of dropped out. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it always comes back.
Yeah, it does.
Like, that's the thing is you can't, I think, and for me personally, because I've had kind of similar in a sense where I can go back and I can remember things from my childhood. And I used to love to, one of my favorite things I remember, if it was raining outside, I just wanted to go outside and play. I didn't care what I was doing.
Yeah.
I just wanted
to
run around in the rain and the mud and get wet and dirty. And do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I think everybody is connected. I think everybody has that intuition as a child, that deep-rooted connection, not necessarily to earth or to nature, but to energy and to that higher power. Mm-hmm. And then life just comes bulldozing in and gets in the way, and you get disconnected from it. And so I always love it when people reconnect to it, when they kind of find their way back to it, because it never goes anywhere. It's just a remembrance of those deeper things inside of us. And once we start, then it's almost like you can't stop it once you kind of get on the path.
Yeah. Well, that was the plan for the planet, is that we'd come in as these perfect babies, and then we would be start experiencing physicality, and it is, a dangerous place.
Yeah.
Physically and emotionally. And then we, we start experiencing physicality, and we start moving away from that trust that we're always safe, and the fear, comes in, and people are influencing us, and we're learning belief systems in order to survive, because as children, you have to do what your parents say or your caretakers, because you rely on them, because you really don't have the power to support yourself. So you have to change. You have to, move away from whatever you are into what they expect you to be, or what you think you should be. And then, and you can't really experience being physical unless you really move away from that stuff. So everybody comes in, perfect, moves away from that, does their human, I call it doing their human shit. 'Cause that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. We're supposed to learn being human and then unlearn it. So at some point, you're gonna go off and do your stuff, and you're gonna experience all kinds of crazy things. And then one day you're gonna go, okay, now it's time to do the, balance the cash register. What did I learn, and what do I know, and what do I want to change? And, the biggest problem is, as children, we learn these belief systems, we learn identities, what we have to be, and we have to do it. But when you become an adult, you no longer have to do it anymore, but you don't know that you don't have to do it anymore because it's so ingrained into your head. And that happened to me when I went to college, because I was listening to this professor going, that sounds crazy. And then I thought, well, I don't have to do that. I'm paying him to teach me. It was like a realization at that point. I thought, I don't have to do anything any adult or authority figure tells me anymore. I don't have to do it. And then you start thinking, well, what did they teach me? And then you make revisions. You review and revise and move forward. And that's really why we're here. We're not here to be perfect, because we already are.
Yeah.
We already are.
I'll give you one of my I had somebody, let me sit here and stumble. We had a guest on the podcast. It was when I was in California. I was on a trip in California, and her name was Jessica Nidifer. But she challenged me after the episode, because so many times as we were talking, I would say, this is what I think, or this is my idea, or the concept, or, and she's like, you need to believe stuff, like not just believe in yourself, but like, it's no longer, I think this or I think that, but this is what I believe. I still struggle with it. I still work on it. But, one of the ideas that I guess think or extrapolate or kind of ponder for one of the reasons why we're here on this existence, in this realm, and this earth and the planet and all the blah, blah, blah. I think it's an energy factory. I think that we come here simply because all the emotion that we experience on this planet, all the things that we would label either good or bad, all the positive things, all the negative things, the love, the war, all those kind of different stuff. It all just is, and it all creates energy. So when we experience emotion, we are creating energy, and that energy then goes up and just spins the universe more, right? It's just simply a factory for creating motion and vibration and energy for the big cosmic, ginormous, universal thing that exists. Mm-hmm. So I think we created this experience for that purpose, in a sense too, mm-hmm. where, we needed some way to create more energy, and we understood how energy worked, and we understood how a physical body could process and feel, and the heart, and all those different things that we do on this planet. So we create this planet, therefore we can come down here and create more energy, which will then help the expansion of the universe mm-hmm. as a whole, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's really pretty much what I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Only it's more information based. Like, this place was created for a purpose, mm-hmm. to expand the universe. So we come here, we have experiences, and we learn. And that information, like your experience, is a book in the library of the Universal Pool of Knowledge. So we're entering information into the Universal Pool of Knowledge, and that expands the universe. And, if you have a huge library, the better, right? You don't want a little puny library. You want a big library. So expanding the universe is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And how it works, this is how evolution works, is that, and I'll use computers as an example. I just turned 60. So I wasn't born in a computer age, but, kids today are. So they come in and they know right away how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to teach them, because all that information was put into the universal pool of knowledge and they were born into it. So they could just do it. I could do things my parents couldn't do either. So each generation benefits from all of the information and experience that's entered into the library. And that's how evolution occurs. So what we're doing is we're expanding the universe through our knowledge and experience and entering information. And our job is to master being physical. So once we master that, there won't be a purpose for the planet anymore. We'll have to move on to something else, create some other scenario that will, create energy. Pinky says that one of the belief systems that is false is that energy can't be created or destroyed, whatever. This is not true. We create energy. Energy can fade out, according to her. So once we're done, there'll be a graduation. And, I was channeling for someone and she said, what's going to happen to mankind? What's going to happen to the planet? And through a couple questions, Pinky said, well, do you want to see this in your lifetime? She said, yeah. And she said, well, you're not going to, not in this lifetime, not for many, 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 many lifetimes, but you will see it. You will be there when it happens. Anybody who has participated on the earth will be there to experience the graduation. And that's if you spent one life and then thought, oh, this is not for me, going somewhere else. It doesn't matter. Anybody who's participated will be there. And that's really kind of cool.
That is cool.
I
have a question that just popped into my head. When you get information from Pinky, when you channel that information, do you ever have an internal struggle within yourself where, because essentially, and maybe I'm wrong, but a lot of the information I would assume you're kind of taking on as your own belief system, and not that you're not analyzing it and looking at it and thinking about it and feeling your way through it, but do you ever have a struggle in that space where something that she presents or represents or puts forth to you, you kind of question it in a sense?
No, I've never questioned it, and I think it's because I already know it. She's just reminding me of it. And, nothing she's given me has caused me any pain whatsoever. It's only helped me. It's only made me feel better.
Yeah.
So I, like I said before, I don't care where it comes from or what it is. It resonates with me. And the thing with the guides is that when you learn how information resonates with you without your mind getting involved, that's what's really helpful, and you're not going to question it because you already know it, and it's just a confirmation of what you already know. And so what the guides do is they just sort of hold the guideposts for us. We kind of know, and they just hold the guideposts for us and maybe nudge us a little bit here and there to remind us, of what we already know. Yeah, it's just nothing we don't already know.
Yeah. I know you have to open up the shop soon, but I have one more question for you.
Okay.
And you can make this as in-depth or as easy as you want. I know you said that you teach classes for channeling and things like that. So let's give the listeners something if they wanted to start on their own, or if they wanted to, what would be a good practice that somebody could put into place when they're interested in maybe connecting with something and wanting to start channeling? What would be kind of a first step that they could do?
It's a lot of things, really, but I guess to know that you can do it and that you have been communicating with your guides unknowingly, maybe. Pinky says if you feel a tap on your shoulder and there's no one there, it's your guide. If you hear your name and there's no one there, it's your guide. If you get messages in your dreams, it's your guide, and to trust that. And once you can identify that they're there, then you can start working with them. then you can ask them questions. You know, if you feel that tap and you go, oh, okay, is that you? You know, who are you? What, you know, and to listen to your inner guidance, not your head. And a lot of people, the biggest problem is they can't discern their own thoughts from their guides' messages, because they can come in the form of just your thoughts. Some people can hear things. I don't. It just comes into my head. And there's a difference between your thoughts and your guide's thoughts. And the only way to start discerning that is to accept that when you get an epiphany, that's my guide. That's my guide. Don't poo-poo it off. Oh, I'm making this up. It's my imagination. I'm not going to do that. Listen to it, acknowledge it, and follow through on it. And once you start doing that, it opens the channel more. But also work on your stuff. Don't stuff your stuff. Just get it out.
Clean
it
out
can't
that
hurt
closet,
you.
huh?
Yeah, like, you have something happen to you as a child, real traumatic. It's only being kept alive in your imagination. So allow it to come up, and it can't hurt you. Whoever did it to you might even be dead, So you look at the situation and realize, okay, this person can't hurt me anymore. So why am I afraid? Let it up and experience it again. And this is the process. You kind of see the event in your mind's eye. Maybe you're a child, you recreate it. It's okay. You're safe. It's only imagination. And then see yourself as an adult walk into the scene and go up to yourself as a child and give the child what they needed at that time. Because only you know that. Nobody knows what you needed at that moment. No one could understand what you needed at that moment. Only you understand that. So you go up to yourself as a child and you give yourself what it is you needed. Maybe you take their hand and walk them out of the situation. Maybe you talk to them, whatever, what it is. And then just embrace them and have them reintegrate into your energy again. Because they're kind of held out there in limbo in these imaginations, and you're just bringing them all home. And I started doing that, and then I was in a meditation for some other thing, and all of a sudden I had all these little me's just coming to me. I'm like, come on, come on, come on, come on. So you can start the ball rolling, and so many things can be healed very quickly. Yeah, but you don't have to fear it. You don't have to fear it.
I can't thank you enough for taking the time to do the podcast. It's
You're
been
welcome.
super awesome.
You're welcome.
What's the best way for people to find the store, find all your information, all that kind of stuff?
Well, I have a website, thesacredsage.com. It's not very well updated, I have to say, but it can get you here. The address is right. The phone number is right. Yeah, that's really the best way.
You guys are on Facebook as well, right?
Yeah, I have the Sacred Sage Facebook page. And there's a lot of stuff on that's more up to date than my website even. Yeah.
And if somebody wanted to get a hold of you for some of the classes that you teach, or even having you channel for them, the best way is just through the shop and through the information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Diane.
You're
It's Diane Rothman, is that right?
Rothman.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we have a lot of listeners in Michigan. I mentioned that to you. So if you guys are in Michigan, please stop by the shop. You won't be disappointed. It's super awesome and cool. And then thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
It's just been wonderful.
It's my pleasure.
Everybody go out and have a beautiful, wonderful day.
Healing isn't necessarily making something go away. It's about integrating it as a positive. There are different levels of vibration and energy, and some are lower than others, and they don't feel so good, but they're not evil, and they're not out to get you. When you're really doing something that's from your heart, it's your heart's desire, the people around you will fall into place with you.